We all belong outside. We're drawn to nature, whether it's the recorded sounds of the ocean we doze off to, or the succulents that adorn our homes. Nature makes all of our lives, well, better. Despite all this, we often go about our busy lives removed from it. But the outdoors is closer than we realize. With All Trails, you can discover trails nearby and explore confidently. With offline maps and on-trail navigation, download the free app today.
On today's Smart 7, Labour set to announce EU deal, the far-right falter in Romania, and much more. It's Monday 19th of May, it's May Ray Day, and happy birthday, Jojo Siwa.
The Smart 7. It's news, but not the news.
Monday will see Prime Minister Keir Starmer welcome EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen to London as the government looks to reset UK-EU relations. Negotiators have been working on the details of a new deal with the EU for the last few months, hoping to seal a security and defence partnership which could give UK firms access to a £125 billion fund intended to rearm Europe. There are other elements to the deal, including fishing rights and potentially a youth mobility scheme, but it's not clear yet what the finer points are. Minister for European Relations Nick Thomas-Symonds was not prepared to give too much detail on Sunday.
Both sides are driving a hard bargain. I've been driven by ruthless pragmatism throughout this process. We, first of all, will not compromise on our high standards. We don't come at this from an ideological perspective. We come from a practical perspective.
Even before the deal is announced, both Reform and the Tories were busy describing it as a surrender and promising they would tear it up if elected. Tory Shadow Chancellor Alex Burghardt summed up his party's position.
We still don't know what the deal is, but it sounds very much as though it's going to be a bad deal.
This weekend saw the strange juxtaposition of Israel coming second in the Eurovision Song Contest on Saturday, while on Sunday, Israeli military began what they called extensive new ground operations in Gaza. The announcement sparked protests in Israel and in Europe as bombing raids have killed hundreds in the last week. Labour MP Rosena Allin-Khan says it's not just the new assault, it's the fact that the ongoing blockade has seen no food, fuel or aid enter Gaza for 11 weeks.
Food is being used as a weapon of war. We have children who have already died from having food withheld.
Sunday night saw the Israeli government announce that a basic level of food will now be allowed in while negotiations continue in Doha. Lib Dem Foreign Affairs spokesperson Callum Miller says Keir Starmer needs to use his influence with Donald Trump to stop the bloodshed.
We need the aid in, we need the hostages out, and we strongly believe we also need the recognition of the state of Palestine. At the moment we have a situation where extremists in the Israeli cabinet are advocating for the annexation of the West Bank and the destruction of the whole of Gaza. It's time for the UK government, jointly with France ideally, to recognise Palestine.
Ukrainian and Russian delegations met in Turkey on Friday, the first formal meeting between the two sides since 2022, but none of the key players, Putin, Zelensky or Trump, attended, and the only significant agreement to emerge from the session was an agreement for both sides to release 1,000 prisoners. It's not clear what the next step in the process will be, and Russia unleashed a massive drone strike on Kyiv on Sunday, but President Trump is due to speak to Russian President Putin on Monday. US Vice President J.D. Vance was in Rome for Pope Leo XIV's inauguration, and while he was there, he met for about 40 minutes with President Zelensky. Back in St. Peter's Square, Pope Leo was doing his best to keep the world focused on Ukraine.
The martyred Ukraine is finally awaiting negotiations for a just and lasting peace. Therefore, as we entrust to Mary the ministry of the Bishop of Rome, we look to her as a sign of hope.
Sunday saw voters in Poland, Portugal and Romania head to the polls. Poland was holding the first round of its presidential elections, while Portuguese voters turned out for the third snap general election in 3 years. The Romanian presidential election was in its second round, with a populist pro-Trump candidate George Simion, a former soccer hooligan, hoping to beat centrist mayor of Budapest Nicolae Dan. There was a high turnout, and the EU leadership will be relieved that the pro-EU Dan pulled off a victory, winning with 54% and promising to build a Romania for all.
This is your victory. Those of you who believed in the right change for Romania, those that campaigned and spoke on social networks. You didn't fear hate speech. You showed what was true.
Still to come on today's Smart 7, in association with Metro, Everton bid farewell to Goodison, and Elton John wants a word. Right after this.
We all belong outside. We're drawn to nature, whether it's the recorded sounds of the ocean we doze off to, or the succulents that adorn our homes. Nature makes all of our lives, well, better. Despite all this, we often go about our busy lives removed from it. But the outdoors is closer than we realize. With All Trails, you can discover trails nearby and explore confidently. With offline maps and on-trail navigation, download the free app today.
Welcome back.
It was a busy football weekend with the men's FA Cup final on Saturday and the women's FA Cup final on Sunday. Chelsea's women beat United 3-0 to cap an unbeaten season with an FA Cup. There was a bigger surprise in the men's final as Crystal Palace, who have waited almost 120 years for a trophy, pulled off a 1-0 win over Pep Guardiola's Man City. Sunday saw Arsenal beat Newcastle 1-0 to lock up second place in the Premier League, while there were emotional scenes at Goodison Park as Everton's men's team played their final game at the ground. They beat Southampton 2-0, which saw celebrations kick into high gear, and manager and Everton veteran David Moyes felt it was a suitable send-off for a club that's in a good place.
There might be a club which is coming back together. You know, before there was a real break-up of a sort of love affair with the supporters, the players, the club, the owners. So we're all trying to get back. I was going to say get back in bed together, but I don't know if I'm allowed. That should be the right thing, but you know what I mean.
Last week saw the Commons and the House of Lords wrangling over the new data bill, which is intended to update rules on copyright. The Lords had voted in an amendment to force AI companies to declare any copyright material that they've used to train their artificial intelligence models. That clause was stripped back out by Data Protection Minister Chris Bryant, much to the annoyance of the UK's creative industries, who have been lobbying hard to limit how much AI can use their original material. It sparked a vocal complaint from music legend Sir Elton John, who spoke to the BBC on Sunday.
When they're creative and it comes from the human soul and not a machine, because a machine isn't capable of writing anything with any soul in it, if you've got to get rid of that and you've got to rob young people of their legacy and their income, it's a criminal offence, I think. I think the government are just being absolute losers.
You can probably blame Yellowstone for making country music and westerns cool again. Sydney Sweeney is the next to jump on the western bandwagon in a new movie called Americana. It's set in modern times in South Dakota, but it's got a real old-time western feel to it, as Sydney plays Penny Jo, a waitress and aspiring singer who teams up with a restaurant regular played by Paul Walter Hauser to steal a Native American artifact. That's when all hell breaks loose, and you can see for yourself when it hits cinemas in August.
What do you want?
The ghost shirt, it's ours.
I don't think we should do this.
That thing is worth a lot of money.
All I want is the artifact.
What's up? Right now I'm apparently in the middle of a goddamn murder spree.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day.
Give us 7 minutes and we'll give you the world.
This is Paige DeSorbo, the co-host of Giggly Squad. I have exciting news. McDonald's has all new McCrispy strips. It's chicken made for dipping. Tender, juicy white meat chicken with a golden brown, peppery breading. It's chicken so good it deserves its own sauce. The creamy chili McCrispy strip dip, a sauce that's creamy, savory, and sweet with a little heat. But it works with any of our sauces. I'm personally a barbecue sauce girl. Even sometimes I like ketchup. I'm just like basic sometimes. But I also need it in addition to any new sauces I'm trying. With a new creamy chili McCrispy strip dip, it's chicken made for dipping, only at McDonald's.